Welcome to the Insurance Nerds News Roundtable. We're excited to have Abel Travis with us today, and as always, working with Nick on this one. So, looking forward to getting into the innovation scene. Welcome, Abel. Welcome,
Hey,
Nick.
thank you.
Abel, what's up?
Hey, doing well. Can't complain. Things have been going a little bit crazy over the past, I would say, 6 or so months since transitioning to Michigan, but so far so good.
I'd say give us an update. So you moved from New York. No, you moved from Massachusetts. You were in Worcester.
Yeah.
Worcester to Michigan. Weather-wise, that's probably not too drastic of a change, but give us the lowdown. What's going on?
Yeah, so I moved from Worcester, Massachusetts to Michigan. As folks probably know, if they know me, I was working with a company out in Massachusetts, headquartered in Worcester, Massachusetts, as their AVP and head of product management. However, earlier this year, I moved and transitioned to Michigan. And here, I'm with a company called AF Group as their head of innovation. So originally I had no thoughts of transitioning out of the product management world, but as I got the opportunity to know the old CIO as well as the CEO here, in terms of the vision that they were looking for to take this organization into, it almost became a no-brainer. I wanted to be at the foundation of the excitement around growing and tripling the size of this company that I'm with, just working to help that group triple the size of the company. So, as I mentioned, I'm the head of innovation. I've been leading a small innovation team at AF Group, and we've really been looking at, how do we transform the way that we do business in order to help ourselves grow, in order to diversify our business. I relaunched the innovation strategy there to focus on just about three things: product innovation, business model innovation, as well as technology enablement. Just looking at those pieces, really helping to align ourselves with, okay, how can we use these three things to help grow this organization? So I launched also what's known as the InsurTech Light Engagement Strategy. So I'm pretty sure all of your viewers know what InsurTech is, but that's a combination of InsurTech or insurance and technology organizations that are here to transform the industry. For us, there's tons out there, and you all are probably very well aware that they've been funded to the tune of several $billions, and there's over 1,000 that's launched over the past couple of years. And we're really just trying to weed through where the noise is, and how we can engage with those folks that are already providing some level of subject matter expertise in their resources to transform this industry, and then bring them in-house, right? To help us to take those capabilities and just enable our part of the value chain as well, so we can become a much better company and grow our organization. So it's just been really exciting, bringing InsurTech to the organization. Introducing the company to InsurTech, brought 7 or so of them on site for InsurTech Day, to help folks understand, what's really happening out there. And then I've just been, just hitting the circuits in terms of speaking and just trying to get this message out there on insurance and innovation. So, there's definitely been a lot of excitement that's been playing out over the past 6 or so months, and I'm still excited about where this industry is going. That's my update.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. I'm hugely curious as to that this is new for this company, right?
So they've had an innovation group at this company for a couple of years or so. And that innovation group was really focused on technology enablement. But, my perspective coming in as I assessed, where this company was going and in the state that they were in currently, what I recognize is we can't just focus on technology enablement. We really have to look at other things like product innovation, business model innovation, to then figure out, where we can leverage technology within our value chain to enable those things, right? Because with technology enablement, that's not really going to drive the outsized growth that we're looking for to double, triple, and quadruple the size of the company. We really need to hone in on what the customers need, and customers are looking for new business models, looking for ways to remove friction to get access to your products. And in essence, they're really just looking for products that's going to help them to meet their end goal. And whether, it's workers' compensation or property or liability from a litigation perspective, they're looking to, support their needs. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, well, where do we define, where we put our resources to help us to, find these new opportunities, new products, new go-to-markets, especially as you start to talk digital and digital distribution and those sorts of things. So yeah, it's even though they've had an innovation team previously, I just really shifted the view and shifted the scope of what we're focusing our attention on, so that we can really be a part of that doubling or tripling the size of $1.5 billion organization to $5 billion over the next 5 years.
That's fantastic. I'm tickled about the business model part of it, because I think sure, you can bring in tech to streamline this part or that part, but at the end of the day, if you, like you said, if you really want to grow, it has to be like a revamping. You have to rethink everything that you do, from not only the internal technology, but customer acquisition,
Exactly.
all the way through collecting data, analytics, all the way to the back end stuff. I'm curious as to whether that's shocking. Like, when I remember being part of a predictive modeling team, and I remember that there was a little resistance to that. It's just like, you're taking my job away almost. Like, I'm exaggerating a little bit.
We don't look forward, we look back.
Yeah, exactly. So, how have you found engaging with the other departments in the company?
Yeah, I think a huge part of innovation is culture, right? It really is changing the culture of what's happening in that organization, so they can understand why we need to innovate our organization, and what innovation is going to do, and how that's going to help us get to that next level. So, I started with really honing in on, number one, the message around growth, where our CEO laid out our growth and diversification, objectives, and really focused on that message and helped folks understand, okay, well, there's this huge transformation that's happening out there in this space, right? And if we don't play alongside of that transformation, we're going to look like the MySpaces of the world, if you want to, align that with what we're seeing with Facebook and the other social media organizations. And for me, I don't want us to look like that. I really want to see us transform our company to grow. So I mentioned earlier, just bringing in organizations like some of the insurtechs that are out there. I brought in Rosie AI. I brought in a company called Risk Possible. We brought in Filing Mate. We brought in Microsoft to help us get a better appreciation as to, how do we use technology and cloud to enable the different pieces. We brought in some data organizations. And the messages that they talked about was, okay, what the customers are looking for, and how we can get from point A to point B more effectively in order to enable the needs of these customers. So the example that I love to use is, think about a life sciences underwriting product in the insurance space. Now, when you're underwriting a life sciences product, you're requiring that agency and also the company to potentially fill out 20 to 30 pages worth of supplemental applications and information just to underwrite that policy. And now, I was a life sciences, an underwriter that did some life sciences underwriting in that field. And I remember out of that 20 or 30 pages, I only looked at and used maybe 2 pages worth of the information. Yeah. But this, organization is spending days, sometimes a couple of weeks, filling out the supplemental application and pulling that information into the file. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if we can partner with a company like Terrain Labs, for example, that can help to pull in all of these third-party data sources to maybe fill out 85 to 90% of that application. And then all of a sudden you're changing the customer experience from, 2 weeks to getting this information down to maybe a couple of days or so, right? And that's a part of, where what I say is, meet the customer where they are. And that's the message that I'm bringing to this into the company that I'm with is, hey, customers are looking for more efficiencies. They're looking for streamlined ways. Their goal really is to be really successful in the business that they're in, and spending weeks and sometimes months trying to pull their insurance packages together is taking their attention away from the business, right? So, just really spreading that message of, okay, this is what the customer needs are, trying to change the culture in the organization. And it's been received really well. It's a message that is starting to resonate with folks. There are a lot of folks that didn't even know this was happening out there with the insurtechs and with, third-party enablement and so on. It's, just bringing that message, making people aware, and then showing them how you can actually take and leverage what's out there to help us get to that next level.
Yeah. I think we're getting into like the gears of insurance now. Like it was all the front facing customer acquisition stuff, but like Bunker was pretty cool out of San Francisco that allowed the contractors to communicate with the people who have like need the insurance. Slice is kind of changing the mechanics behind the scenes. They're not working with brokers yet, but you kind of see it bubbling. Plaid is the company that enabled all like the finance tools that we use today, like Robinhood, Mint.com, all that, like the API sharing. I just kind of wonder what's going to be that middleman insurance product that's going to change the guts of the industry. We're kind of doing a lot of surface level or kind of back end stuff, but I'm wondering that kind of middle platform, that information share, like, people talked about blockchain, maybe for workers' comp, or for like liability certs. I don't think that's truly the solution, but it'll be interesting to see how it all integrates. It's almost like what medicine's trying to do, kind of share information cleanly,
Yeah, I don't know. I think insurance is so complicated, and it's a single word that covers lots of different things. Like Abel was talking about a life science. Life science underwriting would be completely different than just traditional property underwriting or workers' comp underwriting, or and so I think it'd be really hard for a single platform to be able to sort of cover everything. I think it's going to require at each company someone like Abel to come in and say, for what we're trying to do, here are the technological pieces we are going to need to implement to make our own little, set up our own cogs internally. Because I don't know, Abel, you tell me. I think it'd be difficult for a single platform to be able to neatly blanket everything that's going on in insurance.
I think so. I think it'll be very difficult for a single platform to do that. And you just think about all of the different organizations, the different types of insurance, but then also all of like the regulatory limitations and everything that goes along with that, right? So I honestly think that it's going to be really difficult for a single platform to, just to change the way that we do business. I actually think it's going to be a mixture of multiple platforms that's going to help us to gain some efficiencies, but the foundation of insurance, I still find it a little bit challenging I struggle to see, how an organization is going to really come out to do that. A few weeks ago, I had the chance to connect with Risto Bazar from Black Insurance, right? And I'm not sure if you all are aware of Black, but what they're looking to do is, they're looking to leverage, blockchain and, leverage, basically the foundation of how Bitcoin was pulled together to tokenize insurance risk. Right now, what that means is that, hey, they're thinking that there might not be a lot of capital in the insurance space. So if they can tokenize that risk, at that point, they can disintermediate both the carrier as well as the agency out of the process and just use the underlying platform to almost provide a real true P2P capability, right? So as I think about what Black Insurance is doing, I find it really challenging to believe that they're really going to be able to pull this off successfully, because Risto's whole point is to really break the foundation of insurance and having all of insurance, irrespective of if it's personal, commercial, health, whatever it may be, come through that P2P platform where there might be other businesses or people or folks that are well-funded, maybe a multitude of people providing the funding for the risk that's being taken on. What that means is, remember, we're a $3 trillion industry, and there's so much capital flowing through this industry that all of that would have to break down, before a technology or an organization like Black would be able to successfully change the way that things are done. So, I really do find it difficult to believe that there's going to be one technology. I think we're going to see what we're seeing in other spaces like manufacturing, where you're seeing like AI and blockchain and vision and technology and everything sort of work together to make the process more efficient and work more succinctly.
But what's the name of that company?
Black Insurance.
Black?
Yes.
I do feel like you're going to have to leverage all that technology. I learned about sales from my dad and like the ex-CEO who they're kind of cowboys, they're kind of the baby boomers. It was all gut and, toughness and kind of grind. It's nice to have those traits, but I feel like to survive going forward, you got to track the data, the analytics. You don't want to be John Gruden right now. You got to pay
Wait
attention
a
to the
minute.
numbers a little bit better.
Did you just throw in a sports analogy
Yeah.
in here?
He's,
None of us want to be John Gruden.
right. Yeah. He's playing the game like it was 15 years ago. You got to have the toughness, and you got to pay attention to the numbers, you know?
I just find it amazing. Like, talk about that. Sorry to transition, but that is a classic example, right? Of you have the showcase where you can just like talk intelligently and take no risk. People are watching and just like, wow, that guy is brilliant.
Yeah.
We should make him a head coach again. Give him all kinds of money. Then he
Whatever
comes in and he
wants.
blows the whole thing up. Destroys the quarterback, trades the best defensive player in the league away. That is hysterical. I'm looking at Black Insurance now.
We'll let Nick eat that for a second while I sadly do this.
Put it on, man.
You gotta swap. You gotta put it on.
CoBench has a full write up on them. Getting back to how you just described it, Abel. As soon as you were talking, as you were describing this, I kept thinking, regulators never going to allow this. Like think of this in a couple of different ways. When I'm trying to potentially place something on the flood side of significant size, right? So it's a huge account. They're going through, a traditional agent or broker. Part of the question that comes up is what is their AM Best rating? Yeah. Like there's just like a very standard approach, because there's a potential credit risk, right? Like you want to make sure if you're getting a $50 million policy or $100 million policy, that company's going to be there.
Oh yeah.
And to tokenize this thing, it just
even if you're getting a $5,000 policy at like an artisan contract that was on a risk retention group that I saw the other day, we're like, let's get rid of that. Let's find you a better home.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. For me, even if this is coming in the personal space, right, to the point that you made, I want to make sure, number one, the company's going to be there. I want to make sure the capital is going to be there in the event that I actually have a loss that I need to pay for.
Yeah.
With organizations like that, honestly, I got to tell you, I was really excited to hear what they were doing. But then as soon as I started to dig into the detail as to what it's going to take to make this work, all of a sudden I'm like, okay, well, I don't even know if this is, it's a possibility, but I don't know if this is really going to take over the foundation of what insurance is.
Yeah.
Apparently, they have, I think roughly about $300 million or so in business that's set up to run through that platform once it goes live, and they're still getting companies to join. But, I'm just wondering how that's going to officially work out.
I heard that the tech bubble kind of popped first, and then we have the internet really hit its stride 10 years later. You kind of see it with the crypto space a little bit, kind of pops, but leaves the infrastructure. Yeah. I don't think InsurTech is going to totally pop, but I could see it kind of mellowing a little bit. And then these players really hitting a stride 5 to 10 years from now. But I don't know if right now we're ready for that immersion. I think people see that has to work together more too. You're not just going to take over this thing. It has to sort of coalesce and kind of grow together.
I spoke with a VC yesterday, and I said, market, we had our meeting, and then we went and walked and got a cup of coffee and talked personally, and I was trying to hear what's keeping him up at night, and I kind of assumed that it's like, hey, the market seems frothy. Mm-hmm. Right. And he's like, no, we're still raising money. He's like, there's so many more opportunities than you can imagine, and more developing every single day. He's like, this industry is really broken from various standpoints. Like, I think the underpinnings are good, Brett, but I think there's, as Abel was talking about, from A to Z, customer acquisition to the internal guts to different business models. Like, there's a rethinking of the entire strategy, the entire model. And because of that, there's not enough technology coming in. Like, it's not coming in. There's not enough of it. It's not coming fast enough. So Abel, you really got your hands full.
You know, it's definitely do, but just to respond to what you were saying, I think that's part of why there's so much funding available from a capital perspective to fund all of these insurtechs that are hoping to change different parts of the value chain. Because you look at the back end, you look at distribution, the front end, you look at sort of every part along that value chain, and a lot of it might be predicated upon legacy business models, legacy technology, you name it. So there's so much funding out there to really help to change the way that things are done all across the board. I was at ITC back in October, a month ago, right? And actually, yeah, we were there together. Actually,
yeah, that's fun.
Thanks, by the way, for the broker booth. That was awesome.
Yeah, it's a good time. It was awesome meeting everybody in person.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But just thinking about ITC, so think about like 3 or so years ago when it first came about. All you heard was, okay, we're going to disrupt insurance. We're going to change the business model. We're going to take out the larger incumbents, the Travelers of the world, the Lemonade was on the stage and so on. But fast forward till today, I would have to say 90% or more of the organizations that were on that stage, instead of disruptors, they were enablers. And that just shows that, the way things have changed over time, and that maybe disruption isn't the right way to go, because to your point, Nick, things are broken in so many different areas of the value chain that they can take their niche and enhance that part of the value chain within just that small part of what they're doing. So there's just so much opportunity. And I think that's probably why there's so much capital in this space.
Are you, in your position, Abel, are you predominantly a consumer of the technology? Are you forming partnerships or are you doing any actual investments in these companies?
Yeah, that's really a great question. So right now we're forming partnerships across the board from an insurtech perspective, and we're doing a little bit of building of our own technology as well. From an investment perspective, I can't announce anything, but our organization does partner with another company that invests in the startup space. And as you may or may not be aware, but we're also part of a much larger $35 billion company that also does some investing there too. So you may hear some news later this year, but I can't say anything in regards to the investment piece.
So potentially indirectly type of thing.
Potentially,
but lots of partnering.
Oh yeah, tons of partnering.
Yeah, I just spoke with Chris Downer from XL Innovate, and we talked about that a lot. We talked about I actually threw the word out, and then he reminded me that he was the originator of the word, but POC Purgatory. Forming partnerships. So how do you avoid something like that, where you partner with a tech firm, but you're kind of kicking the tires? The tech firm, has minimal amounts of capital. How do you avoid getting into a situation where the partnership, because of the length of it and because of the structure of it, it's not like a full-blown vendor relationship, where it basically grinds them down, where by the end of it, it's like they don't have much left to give. How do you avoid something like that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good question, and I call it POC hell, I guess, and I don't know if I can use that term, right? But I apologize.
Hell, purgatory, yeah.
All right.
For them, it feels like hell.
There's no rules here. We could use whatever language you want. We haven't gone too far off the rails before, but it's open.
Awesome. So it's something that's real, actually. And honestly, I work with so many insurtechs over time, and I speak to so many insurtechs, and that's the challenge that they face on their own rights. What I say is, I don't want our organization, and honestly, incumbents, they shouldn't be organizations that's trying to test the capability and sort of grind it to the bone, right? And then sort of spit out that insurtech after they learn and get everything from that insurtech, right? I think that's the wrong approach. I think the right approach is to really take a business challenge that's real, that the organization is facing, and that we need a solution that's going to be much more effective than the solution that we might have already tried in-house. And then figure out if we can leverage that insurtech subject matter expertise, technology, and understanding to help us to refine whatever it is we need to do to help us get past that business challenge and that business case that we've defined, right? That way, you know, when you do that, instead of, you know, just trying to test out the capability, you can put it into action. And if it really works, you can then begin to operationalize the capability. And I think the insurtechs will appreciate that as well. Sorry, Brett, you were going to say something.
Oh, no. There's an X factor, too, to some people. If you really think they have an understanding of what's going on and there's talent, then it becomes a multiplier. Because you can pull an idea from somebody, but unless you understand the guts and the why, you know, it's easy to miss what made it special and kind of lose the golden goose, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. You know, what I always say is, to your point, you know, there is that X factor. I know a lot of insurance companies that engage with insurtechs, and then they try to tell them, hey, this is what you should be doing, right? That's the wrong thing to do. Like, I would say, you know what? No. You have the subject matter expertise in artificial intelligence. You know, we have people that may understand it, even though their core capability, their core understanding is insurance. You tell me what we need to be doing to leverage that technology to understand, let's say, our unstructured claims data. And that way we're not polluting what they're doing and then coming up with sort of a mediocre business need, right? Or business case, and doing something that's real and that we can sort of take what they're producing and operationalize it.
I think I just had this similar conversation yesterday, Abel, with our internal tech team. I think the worst thing that could potentially happen is that the tech team is looking at your process. They're helping you out, but in the back of their minds or internally on their side, they're saying that's not how they should do it.
Right.
Like they're doing it wrong, and then they don't say anything. You know, because they don't want to upset the POC. So, like on my side, we're doing a bunch of geospatial stuff, and I told the head of our tech team, I said, listen, if they can come up with a better way, they should do it, because the way we're doing it now is my way, and I'm not sure if my way is the right way. All I know is my way kind of was able to get it done, but
it got us here. How do we go next bend?
Yeah, like if they can come in and just say, oh, well, that's too slow, or there's this new data source, it's like, by all means, let's get a whiteboard up and let's start testing some of these things, because I am under no assumption that my way is the right way. I just know it could work, but there could be a ton other ways better. So you know, you're right, Abel.
You know, I would agree with that. And it's funny because, you know, even on my team, you know, we have someone that doesn't have insurance knowledge and insurance expertise, but I tell her all the time, I'm like, okay, you know, this is my vision, and this is how I would do it, but I don't want to tell you how to get there. I want you to show me, right? And that's I wholeheartedly believe that, you know, part of the reason why we engage with people external, and part of the reason why we engage with insurtechs is because they do have a different way of viewing things. And by the way, I'm a firm believer of hiring people that's smarter than me. So my way might get us to point Z, but there might be a better way to get to point Z from these expertise from these folks.
Yeah, to me, it's diversity of experience, right? I want people outside of what we do, because clearly if I have a team that's only insurance people, they're likely to do things the way insurance people have always done them. So I want people with different experiences, different expertise to come in and just say, that's not the way I would do it. And okay, let's flesh it out a little bit. Let's see if there's a better way to do this, because that's the innovative approach. I don't think there's like a single technology. I think you have to become a little bit of a scientist and kind of experiment with this, experiment with that, what works, what doesn't work, and then really fine tune that model. So I love what you're doing.
Yeah, I need to get my kind of insurance basics down, but I think one of my advantages was helping out with the fintech startup before, being around logistics, you know, seeing how different industries work, and then kind of falling into insurance later. You know, it's been awesome. I mean, I love working in it. I love being around it. Looking forward to growing in it. But
your experience helped. Like
there's stuff that seems obvious to me just from being around a fintech startup 3 years ago that hasn't happened yet or isn't there. It's just, there's a lot of things that seem obvious, and I still got to get better with my Accord 125 and 126 forms. But I still got my
darn Accord forms.
Yeah, I got to get back on my
Abel, when are those going to die? Like,
you know, I don't know. It's so funny. You know, the standard is still making its way through the industry, and all of these insurtechs are using the standard as their foundation, especially on the acquisition side. So I don't think it's going to die at all.
Like paper money, you know.
Right.
It's got its place. We can have all the fancy things we want, but you still want some cash cash, on reserve,
Oh,
Out of respect of time, since we are attempting to do a 30-minute cutoff, I wanted to give Brett the floor and basically bow to me.
I was
Sox in
hoping
5.
we'd beat Kansas City, but we turned into the Rangers.
Sox in 5. I called it, although I would say this was a pretty good World Series.
Yeah, it was fun.
Pretty exciting. A week ago this time, I was up till 3:30 in the morning Eastern time, waking up 3 hours later with my kid. It was brutal. Dodgers were a great team. When these series end, and you see like, oh, it was 4-1 or a sweep or 4-2, it seems like a blowout. And it was like every game was like there, except for maybe the last one. Every game was close. Every game was like cutthroat.
I think I could tie this to our InsurTech conversation a little bit.
Go ahead.
Dodgers just totally, home run stats, everything, just kind of working off the numbers. I feel like Boston had a nice combination of strategy, but feeling out the game. Like Dave Roberts need to be a little bit more loose. Like they say, Michael, they ran the triangle for 3 quarters and it was just Michael Jordan being Michael in the 4th quarter. I think the Dodgers needed a little bit more of that. And plus Boston was just playing good, well-rounded baseball, just smacking it all over the yard and not making mistakes and just kind of ground them down. And the Dodgers were waiting for those pops, and the bats just never got warm enough, but it was fun. Yeah.
Insurance and baseball, it is come full circle. And I have to say, like, you look at the quants in baseball, like, I think we need a little bit of that. And I know that like actuaries are supposed to be doing that. I think we need a little bit of that over on the insurance side. I mean, the Tampa Bay Rays start on a couple times a week. We'll start a closer or a reliever to start the game for 1 inning. Like, we're doing stuff we've never done before. The shifts, it's amazing. I'll leave it till give the last word to Abel and Brett. You guys have the last word, but baseball and insurance, you think there's a union there?
Hey, I think there's definitely a union between the two, and Brett, to sort of bring your point home as well in the InsurTech space, with everything else that's happening out there. I think we do have to be very much aware as an industry that you got to take sort of the good with the bad. You got to take the incumbents with the newcomers. You got to be able to sort of merge that together in order to come up with this, this new view, this new transformation as to what we're seeing in our industry. So. Transformation is happening in front of our eyes, and if we're not a part of it, we're going to lose.
Trouble. Yep. Well, thank you, Abel. Yeah.
MySpace. You nailed it.
Right.
Yep.
Or maybe MySpace is a thing too. Don't open up the sandbox too much. Keep some structure there, but that's probably another tangent for another day. But now, Abel, thanks for coming on. Anything you want to plug? Anything for the podcast or events you got coming up?
Oh, sure. So for the podcast, it's my podcast is the Insurance Innovators Unscripted podcast, where I talk to innovators, executive leaders, insurtechs from across the industry, and just really talk about what they're doing. So I talked a little bit about Black insurance earlier today, and I did have an episode with Rista. If you're interested, it's in the Insurance Innovators Unscripted podcast. And by the way, both Nick and Brett, I just want to say thank you for this conversation. I am an insurance nerd to the bone, and I love the opportunity to talk through these things and just fill people in on what's happening in the industry. So for me, if you're going to be at the Dig In conference in New York in November later this month, or at InsurTech Insights in London in a few months, and so you can definitely see me there on the stage speaking about what transformations are happening.
Cool. Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on, sir. Thanks, Nick, for everything. As always.
Congrats, Abel. I love your thought process. Way to really take that podcast and milk it for everything. I mean, you're building a career, you're changing the industry. I love it. Awesome. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Catch you later, guys.
Okay. Take care.